Hey, welcome everybody to the NAB Fireside Chat here with LiveU. It is day 2 at NAB 2022. My name is George Klippel. I'm the Director of Channel Sales, and I'm really excited today to be bringing this session about LiveU workflow in academia and education. I am excited also to have our guest today, Neil Coffey from Syracuse University. Neil, welcome.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to notice if you could see the orange floor. We just put orange,
I appreciate
Syracuse
that just
orange.
for us, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the right shade.
So,
George,
shade.
Where's the fire?
There is no fire.
Well, I thought this was a fireside chat.
It is a fireside chat. Good point. He's a comedian, too. You never know that. But, hey, I have to read the cue card just for his title, though. Joining us on the stage, as I mentioned, Neil Coffey. His official title, get this has got to be one of the biggest business cards you'll probably ever see. Manager of Operations at the Dick Clark Studios and an adjunct professor in the Television, Radio, and Film Department at the S.I. Newhouse Public Communications School. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's like a 4 or 5 inch long business card.
It is, yeah. They had
That's
to
pretty
pay
impressive.
I had to pay extra for the ink.
Yeah, you did. Well, he's joining us today to talk again, like I said, about LiveU and its use in academic institutions. So if you happen to be in academia, you'll really enjoy this conversation today. And if not, you'll still get something out of it, I'm sure. But before we dive into that, Neil, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about the school that you're working at.
Well, sure. My day job is Manager of Operations and Engineering for the Dick Clark Studios in the Newhouse School of Communications at Syracuse. Currently, we have about 2,000 undergraduates and about 400 graduate students in the program. And the Newhouse School is one of 11 different colleges at Syracuse University. Our total undergraduate population is probably about 16,000, and our graduate student population is about 4,000. So there's about 20,000 students on campus. So it's a good-sized school.
And what is your, role and background that that kind of got you into this there at Syracuse?
Well, I've been in this business since Film at 11 meant Film at 11. I actually was a news photographer shooting film. That was my first job in this business, and we had to come back and edit film with scissors, glue, and a light bulb. So
you're dating yourself now, right?
Times have changed a lot. But yeah, my career path, I really spent a lot of time as a shooter early in my career. Got involved in some sports production, doing multicam field work with trucks, and my engineering experience evolved from there. And I was responsible for putting together a lot of post-production systems as well as live production systems throughout my career, and done a lot of work in Europe or some startups in the mid-'90s and early 2000s. But I've always had a day job at Syracuse, which has been great, and doing production for the university. And then I've been in this role approximately 8 years right now. And my job is really to make things work at the Dick Clark Studios. So why don't I tell you a little bit about our studios. We have 5 studios that were renovated in 2014 and 3 production control rooms. Originally, we just had 2 studios and 2 control rooms, and the original build was around 1972, so it was a long overdue renovation of the facility. But as you can see in some of the photos that we have here, we have modern control rooms. We have a newsroom that's fully automated. Let me take you through some of our production control rooms. This is production control room 1 on the lower left here. That's where we do most of our entertainment shows out of for the Television, Radio, and Film Department, and it is also the home for where we actually produce the ACC network sporting events. We do approximately 120 games a year out of that particular control room.
Not to interrupt, but one of the things Syracuse is one of the top journalism schools in the country, and one of the things I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't just teach the students how to use the equipment. They're actually really using the equipment, right? You're training them to get jobs in the career field once they graduate, to go out and learn the tools that they're going to use in industry.
Absolutely, yeah. The Newhouse School is known, obviously, for producing students that have talent in front of the camera, Dick Clark, Mike Tirico, just to name a few that have worked in front of the camera. but we're gaining traction in educating students in sports production. Sports production will soon become a major within the Newhouse School. So we're educating students on how to produce content for sports, not just in-game content, but also documentary and, like the 30 for 30 documentaries. So we're kind of building that sports production curriculum.
But it's not just learning how to be a talent and being on cameras. They're also learning how to TD, how to floor direct, how to run and each position.
And be storytellers.
And storytellers,
when it comes to sports.
Okay.
So
show us some more.
Sure. There's a couple of our sound stages. The top left-hand corner is our large sound stage, Studio B. It's our multi-purpose sound stage. We do a lot of different types of shows out of there. We've done music shows every Friday night, a show called Loud and Clear. Sunday nights we do a Saturday Night Live type show. We call it Live from Studio B Sunday nights. And that's where our multicam studio production courses are taught, where they'll do certain variety shows, game shows. We've done dramatic sitcoms, that sort of thing out of that stage. In the lower left, you can see that's our news studio, fully automated news studio there. We have the luxury of educating students on automated production. So we're fortunate with that respect. And in the lower right, you can see one of our visual effects sound stages that we have there for high-end cinema work. We also have extensive audio infrastructure for doing music and live shows as well as the sports. In the top right, that's one of our audio control rooms. Again, this is Production Control Room 1, where we do the ACC network games out of in our multicam studio production.
So they're surrounded by awesome technology, you can see. I mean, it's just clear that these kids are really getting the full treatment on what it's like or what it's going to be like to go to work for a full broadcaster when they graduate.
Absolutely. And here's an example on the left-hand side of the screen where we have a couple of our students. This was actually last weekend where our students were calling a lacrosse game. The lacrosse game was off campus, and we're going to talk about our LiveU application for that in a minute. But this is in Studio B here, and we're proud of the fact that we're putting students in front of the camera for all the streaming games that we do for the ACC network.
Yeah, that's got to be a great experience for them.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one I threw this slide in myself because I wanted to talk a little bit about this. It's when you work at an education campus, right? There's journalism programs, there's film programs, there's public relations departments, there's all these different groups that can use technology like LiveU to do streaming and to do events, graduations, and there's so many different applications on an academic environment in a setting. And Citrus TV is the student-run television network on campus, and they actually were the first ones at Syracuse University to bring LiveU to the campus. And what made the Newhouse School and your program to really choose LiveU or decide to go that direction? Because they've done some phenomenal work as a student-run organization, and what made you kind of go in that direction at the Newhouse School?
Well, it's interesting. I know Citrus TV is a student-run organization. It's essentially a club. They do have a faculty advisor from the Newhouse School. But as you can see, they have a nice little studio, and they're producing content every night. Their content runs on the Orange Television Network, which is managed by the Newhouse School. But Citrus TV, they do some phenomenal work, not only in news and sports, but they do a lot of their own local content, local origination, which is really nice.
And is it common on campuses? Most campuses, do they have student-run television networks?
Some do. Some are fortunate and have had a long legacy of producing content as a student-run group. It's sort of like the student newspaper, if you can think of that analogy. But Citrus TV now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, has been using LiveU for 3 years?
That's right, yeah. For about 3 years they've been using it. But and you also made a comment I just want to be clear on. It's a student-run organization, but Newhouse oversees it, or do they give them guidance from the professional staff and faculty there?
They do seek guidance from us over at the Newhouse School, but really they run their own shop. They have their own engineers, student engineers that are running the facility, obviously camera operators and reporters. And the nice thing is you don't have to be a communications student to participate in Citrus TV. You can be a bio student or an engineering student if you want to learn a little bit about TV. Again, it's just a student organization.
So it's not like you have to have the major where if you're at the Newhouse School,
right.
you really
Right.
are going into that career field for life, and that's what you really
Very
want
true.
to do.
Yep.
But for Citrus TV, you can just be a fan and want to go and do some
Absolutely.
reporting and have fun.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go. That's the difference.
Yep.
Now, what's this?
okay.
I saw this in your slide deck, and I wasn't sure what this is, but now here's where you've got your LiveU unit. This is a couple of pictures you sent me, and I was, like, blown away by this thing that you've got
Right.
here.
Well,
So what is this?
Talking about our broadcast journalism department, we produce a lot of content each week. We do 2 newscasts a day. Currently, we're doing 2 live morning shows a week on the campus cable TV network. That is part of the curriculum within Newhouse. So these students are actually getting credit for what they're doing. And this was part of the morning show, actually. It's a sunny day, so it must have been the end of last week since we had snow early in the week last week. But this is our live cart, and we use this live cart for a variety of applications. We have a few fiber drops around the building where we can roll the cart out, and we use it for typically weather. We'll do first weather, and then the weather reporter will come back into the studio and stand in front of the green screen and do all the maps. Or if there's some event on campus that they want to talk about or feature, then they'll roll the card out for that. In this particular instance, they were using an LiVU 200 to get the signal back into the house. This is a great tool for doing live stand-ups for these students.
So essentially you're teaching them how to do the stand-ups, right? Because that's a huge job for a reporter, right? That's one big thing that they do on campus, right? Looks like you have a light set up there. You've got the camera all mounted onto this self-contained unit, and then you're using the portable unit there. So even if you didn't have a fiber drop, right? You could go anywhere on campus. You can go open up in a field and go any place.
And that's the beauty of LiveU.
Right. Yep. So getting back to the other question, though, I don't know if we answered it or not. When Citrus had LiveU, I know that you've seen it around, you saw it on campus, you saw other people using it. So when you were looking at it and evaluating it for Newhouse, what was the main reason that you guys decided to go that direction?
Well, full disclosure, we've been using DeGiro probably for about 10 years. And how long have you been with LiveU?
I've been with LiveU for 6 years.
Okay, so 6 NABs ago, you brought me over to the booth and showed me LiveU Central. I was totally blown away with it. LiveU Central, the interface for the control systems, I'm like, you can't beat that. It's a great control system for monitoring your incoming signals and having confidence of the signals coming into the plant. So it's always been, LiveU's been in the back of my head. When I heard Citrus adopted it, I'm like, okay, we've got to start taking a serious look at it for applications within the Newhouse School. So I've been thinking about it for 6 years.
Well, there you go. Well, I'm glad that you finally adopted it. And now you also use it for athletics. I mean, you use the technology as well as the school control room, I believe you said, right?
Absolutely.
Is that how?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that.
So currently we have been using LiveU for tennis. Our tennis facility is not on our fiber backbone. So we've actually been doing a production where we have ISO cameras on 6 tennis courts. And when we have 1 or 2 roaming cameras, and we do a sub-switch out at the tennis facility, but we haul that signal back to our control room using LiveU. We use the LiVU 200 for that application. And then it enables us to put all the in-game graphics along with any replays that we have to do from our control room facility. And we also are certainly looking forward to using it for other applications. For example, when we do a regatta for crew. We've used other products with mixed success for a regatta event.
But it all comes back to the control room in
Exactly.
Newhouse, and everything's switched there and then goes off to the network.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a great use for that, right?
Sure.
Especially when you don't have a fiber drop or anything.
Right.
Even in that case, and fiber is so expensive anyway.
That's right.
But
Yep.
I mean, you can afford it, Neil. I'm sure.
Yeah,
with
right.
that. Yeah. No. So one of the other things too. We're going to go to Q&A in a minute, and that. But what when you look at the portable technology, LiveU is moving to the cloud. That's one of the big things here that we're doing at NAB and talking about, and having. We've always been on-prem. We've had a cloud server as well that has just done RTMP in the past, but we have the on-prem server that does SDI out and RTMP and NDI and all that. Now we're moving that into the cloud where you can do the same things: NDI, RTMP, SRT, and that. How do you think that is going to affect campuses like yours where you have that option, aside from just a physical server in the plant, having cloud production infrastructure as well? What do you think that's going to do for campuses like yours and move, things moving to the cloud? It seems like a lot of companies are doing that.
Yeah, it's certainly going to open up lots of more production opportunities beyond the scope of the traditional applications that we've been looking at more recently. It's going to enable students to, even if we're not going live, it's going to enable them to upload files so that, we can bring them back to our house for post later on for whenever the newscast runs. And it doesn't just have to be news. I mean, it can be sports, or it can even be other production applications. I mean, we've used the LUs for video villages for cinematography. So lots of different applications, and these new services that you are offering are just going to expand those capabilities.
Yeah, and that's a great use case for film makers and production companies. That Video Village use case is phenomenal. Another question that came in from somebody previous to your session was, what advice do you have for other schools looking to adopt remote workflows like LiveU in curriculum or outside of curriculum on a campus if they haven't done so yet? What advice would you give them?
Well, obviously you have to look at the cost-benefit ratio. And for us, we had to implement a system in the fall of 2020 when we made the commitment to have students on campus and teach them, even though we had to do social distancing. That's when we invested in LiveU for the Newhouse School, so that these students could develop their stories and they could report live just using the app on an iOS device. That was huge because...
That's the LU Smart you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. And that enabled us to continue to do live newscasts twice a day early on in the pandemic. So that really was a cost-effective tool for us to keep delivering our curriculum. And it made it much easier for the students to report live from the field.
Yeah, you can switch to the next slide, the last one, because we're going to move into Q&A in just a second, and it has your website on there and everything else. Good job on the clicker, by the way. You're excellent.
Right.
So that's adjunct faculty. That's exactly why you mastered the button. You did. But Neil, I did want to ask you about from a pedagogical standpoint, because I love that word, and also people always ask about that. Was it difficult to put into curriculum to get it into, teaching it and teaching the tool and having people understand it? Was it difficult to transition at all from your perspective?
No, it wasn't really, because students these days are very intelligent and they're very computer savvy and iOS or portable device savvy. So really, we pointed them to the website so they could download the app. And, it might have taken a phone call to set up the IFB, for example, for the return audio. But it wasn't difficult at all to implement.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, Neil, I want to thank you for being here. We have a few minutes left to take a couple of questions from the audience, if there are any. Let's just reach out and see who's here. Does anybody from the audience have any questions? If you do, raise your hand. We'll repeat them for the audience that's watching out there. Anybody? Raise your hand. Just takes one hand.
Is this my opportunity to throw tomatoes at the audience?
That's right. It is. Anybody? No questions? Well, then I think we're going to close it out. Neil, I want to thank you again for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you, and we're so happy that what you're doing at Newhouse and at Syracuse, and you're a great LiveU user, and we really appreciate that. And for all of you that are out there watching, thanks for joining, and stay tuned for the rest of the day. We've got a lot of other great shows coming up. We've got Avid, we've got New Tech, we've got other product demos coming out, and we'll see you again later on. Take care.